Okay, so on Friday we left you very confused. And I asked you to try this example, I believe, to make the chart for it. Right? Okay. I said, can we at least get to the chart part of this? So, hopefully you remember, multiply -2 and 9 to get -18. I want factors of -18 that add to +3. So you should be getting more and more proficient at coming up with these factors faster than just listing them all. So for example, -18, I know I want something that's 3 apart. So I'm going to go for 6 and 3 right away. So I could say 6 times 3, and one of them should be negative. So if I make the smaller one negative, it will add to 3, and it worked. Okay. So hopefully you found the factor pair. Did we find the factor pair? Okay. Now, the next part in your steps was to rewrite splitting the linear term, right? So this is the new part again. So I'm going to rewrite -2x squared plus 3x plus 9. I'm going to get rid of the 3x and put in an equivalent 6x minus 3x, because that will equal 3x. So if I say -2x squared plus 6x minus 3x plus 9. All I have done so far is to split that linear term into something equivalent. Now, the next part is to factor it, or to group it. So I'm going to group these first two things together. And I'm going to group the second two things together. I'm going to say, do they have something in common? Sometimes the first time we write it, it won't have anything in common. For example, if we had rewritten this as 2x squared minus 3x, plus 6x plus 9. If you notice, the first term's only the x factors out. So it's possible you might have to rewrite it twice. Okay? So this time I like it because I know the 2 and the 6 have something in common, and I know the 3 and the 9 have something in common. So now I'm going to factor out what they have in common. So 2x squared plus 6x has a 2x in common. And what's left is negative x plus 3. And then the second part, I'm going to say, okay, negative 3x plus 9. I would like it to look like this one. So what could I factor out where this is what's in the inside? Ideas. 3, you can talk, it's okay. I just meant like inappropriate background noise would be recorded. Like appropriate math talking is okay. Why do you think I looked at you? Yeah. This one? So I saw that it was negative 2x squared and 6x. So they both had an x. So there's the x. And then 2 and 6 is the largest number that divides them into 2. So 2x comes out, and then what's left was negative x still. And then what's left from the 6x was the 3. If you do it right, 95% of the time, this first thing you factor out will have an x in it. Okay, so now we rewrite it again with grouping the factors. So I'm going to group the 2x and the plus 3 together. And then I'm going to group what's already grouped is the negative x plus 3. No, because you factored it out. So you have now factored 2 of them. Is it making any more sense? Okay. Are we running out of room on the right side? Do we need to go to the left? Okay. Some people have room. If you need to go to the left, you could do this problem on the left because it's going to be mostly you practicing it. If you want to instead continue on the right because you have room, that's fine too. Okay? I'm pulling the first one that's going to be from your homework eventually. Not today, but eventually. So, number 1. Well, actually, let's do number 2. Let's do 2x squared plus 5x minus 2. So I would like you to get as far as possible on your own with this one. Let's see how well. In order for this to work, it has to be plus 2. Without the plus, it doesn't work. Sorry. Okay. So what I'm seeing from most of you is that you get the table part. So you said 2 times 2 is 4. I need a factors of 4 that add to 5. Right? 2 times 2 doesn't work. 1 times 4 does work. So we looks like most of us got that far. So the next part would be to rewrite it. So 2x squared plus 1x plus 4x plus 2. The question is that the best I could do if I rewrote it? So I'm going to have this 1x somewhere, which means I'm not going to be able to factor anything out. So it's okay here. Okay. What can be factored out, though, still is the x from those first 2 terms. Yes. Because of this 1. So I took 5x and I broke it apart to these terms, the 1 and the 4. And that was the step that says rewriting the linear, or splitting the linear. Because 1x plus 4x will simplify to be 5x. But what we're trying to do is kind of break it down the way we would have multiplied it if we were multiplying it, so that you can find the factors. So it's like it gets uglier before it gets easier. That makes any sense. Okay. So let's see if the next step helps a little bit. Okay. So next thing, I'm going to group them, first 2 and the last 2, because I'm going to look for the common factors of the first 2 and the last 2. So in the first 2, the only thing they have in common is an x. So I'm going to have x times 2x plus 1. And in the second one, they don't have an x in common, but they have a 2 in common. So I'm going to have 2 times x plus 1. If you did this step right, oh, thank you. I was like, I didn't do it right. If you did this step right, what's in the parentheses here should match. If it doesn't match, something went wrong. Okay? So it should match. So in this case, it matches, I'm okay. So now I'm going to pull this x and this 2 out to be a factor. And then I still have what was in the parentheses as my original factor. So your answer to factors 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 is x plus 2 times 2x plus 1. And then you're done. That's it. Still see confusion. Yes.
So what I'm doing is with
So if you put it as 4x and the 1, what happens is you end up with this in the parentheses originally. No, you end up with this one in the parentheses originally, and this one is the one you'll collect. So you solve and get the same thing. It'll just be backwards work until the end. If that made any sense at all. A little bit. The only case it really, really matters is that if we have two numbers here that don't match, so like this number, the 1x didn't match the 2x at all, or the 4x didn't match the 2 at all, and nothing factored ever. That's where we would have a problem. We haven't seen one of those yet. Yes.
Can you explain what you meant by x plus 2?
Yep. So the x plus 2 came from this x and this 2.
Oh.
So basically, the process is undoing your multiplication. So if you think about it as multiplying x times everything inside and 2 times everything inside, that gives me this second line from the bottom. And then if I multiplied all this, I would get back up here to the top line before I simplified to the 5x. So we're just pulling it apart in a bunch of steps instead of guess and check. Because the other way to do this is guess and check. And it's not fun. Okay? Yes-ish. Want to try another one? Okay, so let's make sure this one works without any changes first. Yeah. 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. Causing it. I think. Okay. So I would like things that multiply to be negative 12, but add to be negative 4. So 1 and 12 doesn't work. 2 and 6. If one of them is negative, that will work. So 2 and negative 6, right? So then the next step is to rewrite this. No, it's not. It's a negative 4. They're both negative. So 3x squared minus 2x minus 6x minus 4. Now here's the point where we might start having different words. Your word could, you might have put the negative 6 in front and the 2x separate. I would do that for 2 reasons. So if I rewrote it like this, I would look at it and go, yeah. I would pair up the 3 and the 6 because I can pull a larger number from 3 and 6 than I could from 6 and 4. 6 and 4 I could only pull out of 2. 3 and 6 I could pull out of 3. So I would rewrite it again right away and say 3x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 4. Okay? Did you have a negative backwards? I think your negatives are backwards. Okay, so now, what can pull out of the first two things?
X squared.
Not x squared. A 3 and a... So a 3x. So 3x times what goes inside? X minus 2. Because my 6 was negative. Hey, you guys in the back, I need you quiet because we're still recording this. So I have minus 2 because the negative was with the 6 at the beginning. So 3x times x minus 2 plus, I hope to get x minus 2 by factoring this. So if I look at it and say, okay, 2x, what would I factor out to get regular x? Well, I factor out a 2. So you would have x left over, and then minus 4, if I divide it by 2, I get minus 2. So you're left with 3x times x minus 2 plus 2 times x minus 2. So our pairs math, or parentheses part math, and now we pull out the outside. So my final answer was 3x plus 2 times x minus 2. Here's what I want you to do in your notes for homework tonight. So either in the right-hand side or on the left, I want you to ask 2 clarifying pieces of information. So 2 questions or state 2 things that will help you understand your notes better. Okay? So